like any good RPG, Reckoning begins with character creation. We have several different options for that, and you'll see some of those now. So the first call to make is what race you want to be. We have 4 different races to choose from, 2 kinds of human, the Almain and the Varani, who hail from different lands and have different benefits, and the Losofar and Doklafar, light elves and dark elves, respectively. Now, as you choose your race, obviously there's the aesthetic differences, but also you get a head start to some of your non-combat skills, something appropriate to that class. Now, having chosen your race, you can choose your gender, male or female. This is purely an aesthetic choice. It doesn't change stats or anything like that, although there is some dialogue in the game that will vary based on your gender. Having chosen that, we then pick our patron god. Your patron god gives you a set of combat bonuses that'll last throughout the course of the game. They're small, but they do let you give a way to kind of flavor your character a little bit more right out of the gate. Having chosen those things, we've built kind of the systemic side of our character. Now we get to customize his or her appearance. Now, we have several presets for each character you can choose from that are crafted to look cool. If you don't want to use one of those, you can go a step further and customize them on a specific level, changing face shape, eyeshadow, the intensity of your stubble, always a fun one. That's intense stubble, that's great. Also a number of hair options, facial hair, hair in your head, the eyebrows as well. You can change around colors and darkness and all that. And finally, accessories, where you can do different facial attachments like nose rings, earrings, etc., as well as tattoos. We have, I think, 30-some tattoos. You can do different opacities and colors and all that. Oh, yeah. You can actually make curves, but I'm not going to tell you the combination you have to do. We also have this fun randomized feature, which we really enjoyed when we put this in because it was supposed to be just a little usability thing, but it ended up being fun in and of itself. You just hit a button and it'll give you a whole different combination of traits. So in a hurry, you can create something really wild. And if you find something that's cool and not quite what you want, you can then customize it from there. We've picked our swank character. We're going to jump into the game itself. Now, normally, at this point in the game, you're starting off, you've seen a cinematic that sort of sets the stage for where we're at and what's going on. Since you've not seen that here, I'll sort of catch you up on what's happening. Now, Reckoning is set within the world of Amalur in that 10,000-year history that R.A. wrote in a very specific time, a time called the Age of Arcana. The reason for that is that magic is freshly returning to the world after a long absence. And this has a lot of different factors in the story. Now, amidst this magic coming back, there is an epic war happening between a group of unseelie fae, an immortal race called the Tuatha, and the mortal races of men and elves. And in the chaos of this war, you, the player character, have died. So yes, from the very beginning of the game, from the outset, you're already dead. It's very sad. Fortunately, it doesn't end there. The game begins with you hacking, coughing, and crawling your way out of a pile of corpses. You get to the ground, retch, kind of wobble to your feet, and find yourself in this strange cavern. You don't know who you are, you don't know how you died, and you certainly don't know how you came back. So the game begins with a number of personal mysteries for you to pursue, like tying it to you on a very personal level because it's stuff about you, and then leading you into the main quest from there. Here in just a moment, we're going to introduce you to one of those characters in the main quest, the architect of our resurrection, Fomerus Hughes.
You there, you! What are you doing down here? You don't belong... Wait a moment. No, it can't be. Come closer so I can see you. Over here. Why, it's true. It's true. But how? The lens? The new configuration? Perhaps... No, what am I thinking? No time for that now. We've got to get you out of there. You need to arm yourself. Quickly, check that body over there for a weapon. No time for questions. Go! Excellent, excellent. Through the door now. I'll meet you on the other side of the gate. Stay alert. We're not the only ones in here, I'm afraid.
This is a small thing, but I have to say it. The voice you've just been hearing, Fomerus Hughes, if any of you played Baldur's Gate 2, and I'm really hoping a lot of you did, it's the same guy that did Minsk. I love it. He's awesome. Jim Cummings is his name. Anyway, so we've just looted this sword, and this is the beginning of the tutorial dungeon. At this point in the game, normally we're teaching you how to loot things, how to equip, how to swing your weapon. We're turning that off for the purposes of this demo. Now, as we move forward, you may notice that Fomerus Hughes back there, the gnome on the scaffold, he seemed a little surprised to see us. There's a good reason for that. For the last decade, he's been working on this machine, this magical apparatus you see up ahead. It's called the Well of Souls, and it features prominently throughout the Kingdoms of Amalur IP. Now, the Well of Souls is a resurrection machine, and despite all these years working on it and a very large stack of corpses that you saw back there, it's never actually worked. That is, of course, until now. Unfortunately for us, the base of the Well of Souls isn't a very safe place. Some of Hugh's earlier experiments, skeletal constructs called the Faragorda, are roaming the area. Now here in just a moment, you're going to see your first kind of taste of the combat in Reckoning. This is our combat in its most simplistic form, with just one weapon, which you can use with just one button. Now, Joe can pound out that button and get a base attack chain, or he can vary up his timing. If he delays between attacks, he'll get a different set of attacks, like a sword swing, sort of an uppercut that'll actually launch enemies into the air and let him juggle them. Really easy to use, very fast, very fluid, hit a button, get an instant result, and you'll see that now.
Look out, it's just as I feared. There's only one of them though, shouldn't be too much trouble. Well done, but stay alert. You'll rarely find just one of them about. Social creatures, actually. You need to find your way to the upper levels. There's a passage to your right. That should take you through the supply rooms and into the tunnels.
Now, as Joe loots this Faragorda, I see he has some nice leather armor on him. There's a couple things to point out here. One, which you're seeing only a tiny sample of here, is the loot system in Reckoning. We have a full slot machine Diablo-style loot system in Reckoning that can generate over 2 million pieces of loot. We have different quality tiers, material types, affixes, so you can have things like a flaming sword of destruction, all that kind of thing, or of the wombat, or whatever. Very, very cool. So you generate tons and tons of loot. It's just one more thing that keeps you playing the game, just that addicting treadmill of getting new stuff. We also have hundreds, I think it's actually maybe over 1,000, at least hundreds of handcrafted unique items with even more impressive bonuses, as well as collectible armor sets, where as you get more pieces from the set, you get a bigger and bigger bonus. So that's the loot system itself. Separately, there's the actual UI we're looking at here. And this is interesting for some design reasons. Now, you can look at individual items here. You can compare them with what you have equipped directly from the loot UI. You don't have to go into your inventory for that. And then you can equip them directly from the loot UI without having to actually go into your inventory. Also, if you find some items that you don't care for, you can throw them into your junk pile right from here. Your junk pile, the next time you go to a merchant, with a single button press, you can sell all that off. Just one button press, it's gone. Now, didn't expect that to get an applause. Now, RPGs, inventory is very, very important. And some players really like managing their inventory. They like going to that screen, min-maxing exactly the right gear for their character, making sure I've got my chance to crit here and my crit damage percentage there, and just, working all that out. You can absolutely do that in Reckoning. I kind of lean that way myself. But a lot of other players, they don't want to do that. They want to just, hey, give me the cool stuff, let me go back to killing things. We let you have the best of both worlds with this UI, so we're big fans of it. So now, having fully equipped the leather armor off this Faragorda, we're going to proceed. Now, one thing to pay attention to as we walk a little bit further down this hallway and into the next room is the attention to detail in the environment. Even here, indoors in a dungeon, our artists, our environment artists, level designers, have done an amazing job crafting ridiculous amounts of small detail into every corner of the world, including places that, frankly, you're not likely to look, like up higher on the walls. Honestly, we ran through this demo 5 or 6 times before noticing the large stone head in the background. Just kind of blends in. Just little things like that help give the world texture and make it feel more real.
That's the way. You're in the main supply room. Grab what you can from the surplus, then keep moving.
So now here Joe's going to loot and equip a kite shield. A kite shield is the most basic sort of defensive mechanism in the game, sort of suited for warriors. And it's going to add a couple new elements to our combat. Well, actually 3 new elements. First, it's going to add blocking, obviously, to shield. Second, it's going to add parrying. And a parry, if you're not familiar with action games, is like a timed block. So as your attack's incoming from an enemy, you block right at that last minute, and boom, you can parry him. You'll stun him, do a little bit of extra damage. Another thing it's going to add, which you'll notice, is that if Joe attacks with his sword after parrying, he does a totally different attack chain, which is actually a more damaging chain than his normal attacks. We'll see that now.
We're in! I thought it was just gnomes down here. The job was to wipe out everything. No more otherwise.